Hey everybody, Adam Savage. I'm at Propstore's warehouse in Los Angeles with Mike and Denise Okuda. If you don't know them, they should be household names in your head because these two are responsible for the design of Star Trek, the graphic design of LCARS, and many other things that we're going to talk about today. I can't even tell you what a huge fan I am of your work.
And we of you.
I love Star Trek, I love the utopia, but I also love this visual language that you built because it feels so accessible. It feels like I could operate one of those terminals. And I've always felt like that since the very beginning. Tell me about the development.
Well, my original thought was, I grew up with the original Star Trek. My original thought is I wanted to riff off of what Matt Jefferies had done in the original Star Trek. I loved all those little blinking icons, I loved that it looked so complicated. And I explained that to Gene Roddenberry, and Gene said, no, I don't want to do that. He said, I want it to be simple. I want it to be logical. And so I had to go back and completely rethink. But it turned out, Gene was right. And it's kind of amazing that Gene would take a successful franchise like Star Trek and say, throw that out and do something different.
Yeah.
But he was right.
And I mean, for me, the accessibility is what made me gravitate towards it. I felt like I could understand how information was laid out. And was that part of his plan?
Well, he kind of left everything beyond that initial discussion. He left to me. But yes, absolutely. The idea,
Here, go ahead.
If I can borrow that.
Yeah.
So I wanted it to be painfully obvious how this is organized, how these work together, how these flow into each other. So even if you have no idea how a starship operates, I wanted you to believe that if I just looked at this closely enough, I could figure it out.
That's what it felt like to me. And honestly, that feels like a hug from the show. So many aspects of the show felt like that. Like it was reaching out to me as a kid and being like, you belong here. You can be part of this.
I wanted there to be, okay, there's an obvious design, but when you get in closer, oh, that must mean something. I don't necessarily know what it is, but I want you to believe it's functional. I want you to believe that, oh, there's this organization across here. This flows here, this flows there. These are somehow subordinate to that.
Yeah. I'm imagining that there must have been a time since you designed this that someone has anyone designed the system as it worked? Have you gotten to operate a panel of the LCARS interface?
Actually, a few years ago, we were guests at the Subaru telescope on the Big Island of Hawaii.
Right.
And one of the technicians was showing the control panel that operates one particular instrument on the telescope. And the guy must have been a big Star Trek fan because it was very definitely the LCARS format.
Oh my God, he must have waited his whole life to show you that interface.
And he's saying, this is my Starship.
Wow. And it literally is a Starship.
Yes, because with that machine, with that telescope, you can travel into the stars and back in time using my control panels.
You must have met many designers over the years who got into the display of information based on your inspiration.
Well, these are a suggestion of what it might look like if you had the time to actually sit down and design it. As you know, in television, you have to do it very, very quickly.
Oh God, yeah.
But the mind of the audience fills it in. Things that I just put, we'll kind of make it like that. Someone will go, oh yeah, well, if you do it that way, that makes sense because of this. And it's because of their imaginations as well.
Well, and now I'm actually curious if there's anything in the early days of developing this for Next Generation where the actors brought stuff to their performance that taught you or showed you different things that you could do with the design.
Well, almost the opposite. After the first day of filming on the Battle Bridge, which was our first day on the Enterprise for Encounter at Farpoint. After walking to the parking lot, Marina Sirtis pulls me aside and says, "These control panels intimidate me."
Okay.
And I said to Marina, "I want you to understand that these are supposed to be very easy to use. Your character went to Starfleet Academy for 4 years, and she knows this. So the most important thing is that you have confidence in what you're doing. The other thing, and this is what I thought of this for Marina, but it made sense, is these control panels are software defined. They're based on your user profile. So the button you hit is correct. Always remember that."
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, I remember reading how the actors on the set of Alien loved the fact that every switch they hit did something. What you're telling them is you can't hit a wrong switch. This is built off of you.
Well, at the beginning of Next Generation, Rick Berman, our executive producer, asked me to talk to all the cast members and show them how to do it. And the main thing I said is, just hit a few buttons and it needs to look easy. Because I did not want to tell them that's the button to fire the phaser, because then that's going to stress them out, and you're going to see it in their performance. I want them to just go boop, because as if they've gone to Starfleet Academy for 4 years.
Well, now I'm wondering, because I've been on television and I know that people will watch what you do very carefully. If there's any train spotters that are like, she's pushing the wrong button, or it pushed this button in the last episode and this button in this episode.
Well, ironically, our present job, because we're no longer in Star Trek, is for the television series For All Mankind for Apple TV+. And unlike the Enterprise, that's the correct button.
Yeah.
If you're flying an Apollo capsule, there actually is a correct button to hit.
And it's the only one you can hit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot of them.
Yeah, and it's our job to look at the manuals, to look at the panels, and look at the script and say, you hit that one.
Yeah, we had to learn basically how to fly the command module and the LEM.
Wow.
That was challenging, but we loved it. It was great.
My friends at Luna Replicas make a poster of the Apollo command
Have
module.
it.
I
We
figured
have
you
it,
might.
and
It sits on my wall, and the idea of consulting it regularly sounds terrifying.
It was in our dining room, and we'd sit there with the script, and we would look up on this poster, and we'd go, okay, there's the,
So I guess you guys, if you were presented with a working disky, could actually make it work.
Not anymore, but for a while, yes. There was a moment where we recreated the 1202 program alarm moment in one episode, and so I told Chris Agos, who played our version of Buzz Aldrin, this is what you hit, and I showed him the disky sequence, and he said, wait, just to get the error, just to find out what the error message is, I have to do this, and this. And I said, that's what the real Buzz Aldrin is. And he said, you are kidding me.
Well, this also means that in that case, train spotters who love space are watching that and being like, wow, they got all the buttons right.
we hope so.
And in fact, a lot of times, even if they hit the right buttons, in editing, they'll compress it so it won't necessarily.
Oh, right. They're going to muck it all up.
Well, they're gonna do what's best for the storytelling.
Sure, of course. We're all realistic about how our stuff gets used in the end.
Yes.
We could talk on extemporaneously for hours, I'm absolutely clear, but I'd love to talk about these objects here in front of us. Aside from these two LCAR panels, which I just can't get enough of looking at, we've got this beautiful plaque for the Enterprise. And you showed me off camera that the wood grain is just shelf paper.
Well, we're always short on time and always short on money, and I wanted there to be a nice wood frame for it, and that was faster and cheaper.
I love it.
Almost every starship on Star Trek has had what we call a dedication plaque on the
Oh,
bridge.
really?
Yes, going back to the original Enterprise for the original series. So when I started on Star Trek on Star Trek 4, I always tried to put a plaque. And as time evolved, the style evolved. And eventually, I started putting the names of key Starfleet personnel who built the ship.
Oh, wow.
But of course, if you look carefully, you can see people like Chief of Staff Gene
Roddenberry, yes.
And
John Knoll.
John Knoll.
Yeah, he's a good friend.
And Matt Jeffries.
Matt Jeffries, I recognize. Yeah. Oh my God, that's wonderful.
And the peril of doing these things, by the way, if you're the guy who designing it, is someone will say, wait a minute, how come I'm not on the...
Of course.
And so that's why I squeezed as many people as I possibly could.
I really appreciate that.
So that there are fewer people who would try to kill me.
I really love that. And we have two spaceships here. You were telling me off camera, this is built by the inimitable Greg Jein.
Both of these are
built by Greg.
Yeah.
I tell you what I love as a modeler who spent a lot of time putting lots of detail on tiny things. Greg's preternatural efficiency at never adding a detail you won't see on camera blows my mind.
Greg knew exactly what the camera would see, and he understood exactly what you needed to get your shot.
Right. And there's no extra effort. Like, it's not any prettier than it needs to be.
Yeah. And it's easy to make fun of that, but in fact, if you put energy into something that's not going to be seen on camera, you're cheating the show.
You're wasting time.
You're cheating the viewer. Why not put that energy into something that's going to make the show better?
Yeah. Okay, so tell me what this one was built for.
Both of these models, Denise and I wrote a book in the early 90s called The Star Trek Chronology. And Greg called us up and said, and we talked about it.
Yeah.
And he volunteered to make some models for us.
So these were built for illustrations in the book.
For illustrations showing moments in Star Trek history that had never been seen on screen.
Oh, what a treat!
So this is his concept. This is now this is well before before Star Trek First Contact.
Yeah.
This is his concept of Zephram Cochrane's ship, with which he first broke the light barrier.
This is the first warp drive.
The first warp drive ship. And to your point, Greg was also a master at repurposing things.
Yeah.
Because you're in television and in film, as you know, there's never enough time.
Nope.
So, so in this case, this command module is actually a repurposed casting of a robot from Batteries Not Included.
No. Oh my God, that's great! What a lovely lineage.
Yeah. And yet he put a. I told him, well, I thought instead of using dilithium, or instead of using antimatter, he would use a fusion drive.
Right.
So he gave us a nice radiation shield.
You know, maybe you don't know, but when ILM finally shut down its offices off of Kerner Boulevard last fall, I took all the model making racks filled, and my point was to keep them together so that they're still extant. And what I want you to know is, when you need this Plastruck dome, I've got it for you. Okay?
Good to know.
Because there's like 6 of these in there, and those to me are like some of the rarest. The big 5-inch Plastruck dome is like hen's teeth to find now.
Yeah. Well,
all right, this one feels like almost like a B-12 bomber sort of thing.
Well, this is based on Greg's reading of an early draft of the script for Balance of Terror. So this is his idea for a Romulan ship. Even in that draft, it was described as being a bird of prey. Right. So you can see he built little feathers into it.
Look at that! Amazing. I also love all this pencil work. It's one of my favorite things about looking at old models up close is how much pencil paneling was on.
Actually, there's a different story for that.
Yeah.
Greg, of course, did this in a huge hurry, as everything is done, and for the book, The Star Trek Chronology, Denise and Doug and I got together at our apartment one day, and we were photographing it, and all this nice paneling that Greg did wasn't showing up. So Doug Drexler started just hitting it with a pencil, as one does, to bring out the paneling, and I thought he did a great job. So I said, "Do the whole ship."
Right.
And Doug said, "I feel like I'm defacing one of Greg's models." I said, No, you're finishing Greg's model.
It's exactly as it should be.
So this was an early concept of the Romulan bird of prey by Greg Jein and Douglas Drexler.
I really love how weird it is. It almost feels like it belongs in the new Dune movies.
Oh, I can see that,
right?
yeah. I can see that.
Or even, actually, it wouldn't have been out of place in David Lynch's Dune.
In the 84 Dune,
yeah.
yes.
Very much Lynch was doing gestures like that.
Although this is a little complicated for him, but yes.
Yeah, indeed. We have this one title card, which I also love, because we think of, we grew up in this digital age where you can make anything on your phone, and it's important for people to remember this is how titles were shot.
This is how we did titles. I literally took Letraset rub-on letters.
Amazing.
And I laid out all the type, had it shot onto photostats.
Yep.
Made a negative print, stuck it onto illustration board, and that's what they photographed. This is from the 4th season of Next Generation.
I love the fact that even though we've gone entirely digital, John Knoll will still wax on for hours about how he misses filming actual stars.
Oh yeah.
Right? That point of light. And there's a second one here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Jonathan Frakes.
Actually, if you and to your point, if you look at the first season of Star Trek Next Generation, I had a different set of cards. I actually did cards that only had the actor's name on it. And after we did the pilot episode, Jein decided we should put the character names.
Nice. Oh, so you then added.
Well, actually, I didn't add them for the first season. So for the rest of the first season, they used an early Chiron.
Oh.
And you can see the difference in the anti-aliasing, the letter quality.
Of course.
Back then, it wasn't anywhere near as clean as these analog lettering.
There's something about the analog. I mean, I started as a graphic designer in the 80s, right? I was ordering photostats. I operated a stat machine for 2 years.
We kept stat operators busy for weeks on end.
Oh, I've spent so many weeks in that tiny room smelling those chemicals, but it's like Star Trek is such a unified vision that, to me, seeing the hand-hewn way it comes about just makes it more accessible.
Well, you can kern them on the fly, and and here you can see it. This line didn't matter, so I just cut it out.
Yeah.
But I had to go in with a
Sharpie,
with a Sharpie, and coloring the edges just so it wouldn't show up.
I totally see that telltale purple as a Sharpie at the edge.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that's so special about this is they're one of a kind. This is it.
That's right.
This
It
is
doesn't
it.
occur to me.
It's one of a kind. Yeah.
Incredible. I waxed on a video on our channel just last week, exhorting people to just work at becoming somewhat of an amateur font nerd. That life is better when you're a font nerd.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, that's the other thing, right? Is that when we are executing models or we're executing a design like this, just a title, we're doing the same thing. We're trying to communicate information fast and efficiently and also beautifully.
I did most of the titles, the actual title graphics for most of the spin-offs that I worked on.
Oh, really?
And I love graphics and I love Star Trek. And I actually tried very hard not to do it.
Really?
Yeah, because most of these things nobody knew anything about, so I could just do what I needed to do.
Sure.
The titles and the credits, those were micromanaged.
Of course.
And I don't mind being art directed by someone who understands, okay, well, you need to kern that here, you need to bring that up there.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you have people in the loop who they just want to make a change just so that they can be important.
Yep.
But
in that case, sometimes when I was in the industry, I would make something wrong so that they could find that wrong, and then we wouldn't have to worry about the right stuff.
Yes.
We called it painting it purple.
And I once did that.
And it didn't work out.
I think they chose the one you didn't want them to choose,
Oh,
right?
no.
I think it backfired. Yeah.
That's a spectacular backfire.
It was a spectacular backfire.
Mike, Denise, this is such beautiful stuff you brought here, and your work is so inspiring. And these are in this auction, am I correct?
They are indeed.
Incredible. And I love you pointing out that these are complete one-offs. My father was a filmmaker and a designer as well, and this black mat board is one of the earliest materials I used as a maker.
Oh, you were speaking of operating a photostat.
Yeah.
A large fraction of what we did for Next Generation and those shows were these backlits, which I did these as paste that was black art on a white background.
Right.
And we had a photostat person who would then photograph them, make an inner positive, and then make these large film negatives. We used a film stock that I'm sure you're familiar with called Okudas.
Oh, yeah.
It gives you exceptionally dense blacks and absolutely clear whites. So we would then put color behind it in the form of hand-cut pieces of colored lighting gel.
Oh, wow.
So that the colors were sharp, they were bright, they were saturated. But in the early, around 2001, 2, 3, 4-ish, inkjet printing technology advanced a lot. So this is a panel from the episode In a Mirror Darkly, in which we recreated the original Blinky control panels from the original Enterprise. And we have a nearly complete set of Blinky panels.
Wow.
But instead of doing it with inkjet, with Kodlitz, this panel was done with inkjet printing. So
inkjet on acetate.
Inkjet on acetate.
Turn it around and show the blinky boxes.
Yeah, well, can we...
It's very high tech. Blinky boxes.
Oh, wow. Oh, look at that. Blink, blink, blink.
These little boxes, you put a little blinking light in it, and it makes the
Wow, so just a little light in each one. I'm curious, when we were doing inkjet prints for transparencies at ILM, we often had to print like 2 or 3 times over the
Yes.
same acetate to get
Yes.
the saturation.
Well, what I used to do, I would go to an inkjet vendor
Yeah.
and I'd say, give me the densest black you can. Then I'd take the print, put it on a light table, put a credit card under it. If I could see the silhouette of the credit card, I'd say it's not dense enough.
Amazing. No, that's exactly right, though, because anything less is going to show up on
gonna
film
show
at
up.
the worst moment.
But the technology has advanced since then, and you can get it really good now. We used a lot of inkjet printing on Picard, and it was good.
Amazing. And you were telling me that that one of the secrets to this is that you use smoked acrylic,
Yes.
and that the smoked acrylic, I'm assuming that allows the image to die when light's not on it,
Yes.
and allows you to perfectly
Yes.
control.
If this is smoked acrylic and then you turn the light off as you just did,
Yeah.
then it does. You can't just see a silhouette. It
Right.
looks like the thing has gone off.
So it really feels like a monitor.
And it's very hard to convince people to do it. When someone is doing a Star Trek exhibit and I talk to them, I say, use smoked acrylic.
Yeah.
And they all go, well, I'm losing light. And when they turn the panels off, you can tell it looks fake.
Yeah. I mean, you've spent so long living in the Star Trek universe, you know exactly when it's right or it's not right.
Well, at least in that part of it, yes.
Yeah. I'm just wondering how, I mean, we're in front of these beautiful blast doors. It must feel very much a little like home to you guys.
I love these doors, the holodeck doors. They're fabulous.
They really
and
are.
the thing is, you go back in your brain, and I can walk down in my memory. I can walk down the corridor on the TNG sets right up to the door. And of course, there's a grip or somebody right behind there pulling a rope that opens up, and when the doors close, they clang, and then in post they put the proper sound effects.
Yeah.
The original holodeck doors were designed by Greg Papalia, set designer, now a big name set a production designer. And this is the recreation we did for the last episode of Enterprise, in which we recreated the Enterprise D set. So, as Denise said, walking down that corridor was just amazing.
I'll bet.
Visceral, yeah.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah.
Like a particular kind of nostalgia, seeing old friend at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, we grew up with the original Star Trek, and so we have a special affinity toward the original Enterprise. And I had no idea how powerful it would be walking down the Enterprise D. That wasn't the Star Trek we grew up with.
Yeah.
But it was the first Enterprise that we had worked on together.
Yeah.
And we spent 7 years of our life on that ship.
So much. You went on a 7-year mission.
We did.
And then we went on another 7-year mission. And we went on another 7-year mission. Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much. This has been
Thank
such
you.
a lovely education.
Thank you.
And next time you're in San Francisco, please come by the cave and look us up. We're good for lunch and a nickel tour.
Sounds good. Thank
Excellent.
you.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much for watching that video. We have some brand new merch available at the store. A dog's age ago, I mean like 2018, 2019, this wonderful graphic designer named Brian Otterer reached out to us and sent us some stickers. He has a design firm called Dash 3 Dots, and we loved his stickers so much we wanted to sell them on the merch store. Well, he updated them with our new logo, and we've got Adam in the Martian spacesuit sticker. We've got Adam in the shuttle suit sticker. We've got Adam in the Apollo suit sticker. And my personal favorite, Adam in the alien spacesuit sticker. Get yours now, tested-store.com. Hey!